Naruto, 10 Ways Madara Could Have Made a Bigger Impact. Madara was an amazing villain in Naruto Shippuden, but his deeds were cut short. Here are 10 ways he could have made a bigger impact on the show. Madara was the main antagonist of Naruto Shippuden's second act and a villain with untold power. Capable of decimating entire legions seconds after his resurrection and among the few threats that the heroes never actually defeated themselves. His strength and legacy are both unrivaled. However, there are dozens of ways that he could have been written to become the most compelling anime villain of all time. Unfortunately, some narrative opportunities were missed that could have given Madara more depth and understanding as a character. 10. He needed a better connection to Sasuke as a fellow Uchiha. By the time Sasuke joined the Fourth Ninja War, he was resolutely on the allied shinobi forces' side, after speaking with the former resurrected Kage. For some reason, Madara did not attempt to recruit him to his side despite the many similarities they shared, such as the Uchiha persecution or their brothers' tragic deaths. The only tangible connection the ninja had with each other was through their mutual reincarnation of Indra. However, neither commented on this, and their relationship was solely antagonistic with no depth whatsoever. 9. If he established his antagonism with Naruto, the possibilities would have been endless. Like how Madara's relationship with Sasuke was underdeveloped, his connection with Naruto was as well, but for different reasons. Since Naruto is the main protagonist of the series, it's expected that he's supposed to have a solid connection with its foremost villain. However, Madara was mostly disinterested in Naruto personally and fixated more against Hashirama for their feud in the past. Although the first Hokage did not fare nearly as well as the Naruto did during the final act of the Fourth Ninja War. 8. He deserved a better and uninterrupted final fight. The final fight between Team 7 and Madara was compelling since it illustrated how far the heroes had come since their introduction. Imbued with several formidable augmentations, it seemed as if the allied shinobi forces might not prevail against their ancient adversary. Ultimately, they didn't. Instead, Black Zetsu ambushed Madara from behind, effectively killing him and paving the way for Kaguya's return. Considering the spontaneity of his downfall and the cause for his undoing, the Madara faced an anticlimactic death in favor of a less well-received final villain. 7. He needed to be introduced earlier. One of Madara's greatest problems from a narrative standpoint is that he was virtually non-existent in the original series. This contrasted other villains who were at least alluded to, such as Obito and the Akatsuki. Therefore, when it finally came time for his debut, there was significantly less anticipation for the carnage that would ensue than he deserved. Further, Madara was forced to establish his reputation by overcoming an army of standard shinobi. 6. Hashirama needed to struggle more to defeat him the first time. As much as the first Hokage tried to mend the rift between himself and Madara, the truce they signed ultimately became untenable. This resulted in a climactic battle where Hashirama would strike his former friend down with finality even though the villain had subjugated Kurama to do his bidding. If Senju had struggled more, or brought an ally like Tobirama to support him in the battle, it would have spoken better of Madara's capabilities. As it stands in canon, he lost what should have been a lopsided fight in his favor because of his tailed beast advantage. 5. Madara should have interacted with other villains beside Obito. Oftentimes, the interaction the series' villains have with one another highlights their unique personalities. This was prevalent through Orochimaru's connection to the Akatsuki in Danzo and Kabuto's alignment with the Sannin and Obito. Conversely, Madara seldom met with other antagonists even though he had plenty of opportunities to do so. Particularly since Orochimaru arrived at the Fourth Shinobi War's frontlines. It limited what could have been an intriguing dialogue, especially when he uncovers what happened in Konoha. 4. He needed a more active role in the Shinobi War. The Fourth Shinobi War was Naruto's longest arc and an opportunity to reintroduce many of its past beloved villains. Despite being the main antagonist of the story, Madara was only resurrected after the conflict was well in progress. If he arrived sooner, it would have provided a challenging and dynamic situation where the heroes would be forced to reconcile their sealing strategies with the roaming villain. In this regard, he would serve as a reverse Naruto, dominating whatever battlefield he arrived to. 3. He should have killed one of the Kage. The 5 Kage gathered to contend with Madara and defeat him before he could annihilate their armies. Predictably, they were not successful in this endeavor, faltering against the villain before he even reached his final state. Mysteriously, Madara chose not to kill them, or any other named character of the entire cast, for that matter, as Niji's accidental death was against the Geto statue. This makes it more difficult to view him as a credible threat despite the immense power at his fingertips. 2. Some of the Uchiha should have agreed with him before his attack. Much of Madara's frustration was through his inability to sway his people's hearts to his cause. They were not as dissatisfied with the Senju as he was when he turned his back on Hashirama, compelling him to continue his journey alone. If his sentiments garnered some support, this would have added more legitimacy to the Uchiha genocide, which followed and created a more complex moral conundrum for the heroes and audience to sift through. It would be especially sensitive because the clan would plot a coup after his disappearance anyway. 1. He should have died unredeemed. On his deathbed, Madara shared sentiments with Hashirama that alluded to being old war buddies. It inferred that he died a redeemed man even if he would not live to enjoy the fruits of the first Hokage's forgiveness. This is even though the villain attempted to submerge the entire human race into a permanent catatonic state and directly murdered hundreds of shinobi warriors. Senju should not have been as lenient to him for the atrocities he committed against his descendants.